We're just allowing others to join in via conference line, as always. Greetings, 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 my brothers and sisters. Well, it's me again coming to you with the fresh word. Have you ever said this before? You know the title for today's message. I can't afford that. Have you ever said that to yourself or to someone, or even while in the store? Hey, I can't afford that. I can't afford it. What about some of you who can recall this thing or experience this as a kid growing up? When you were going to the store, your parents say, "Don't touch anything. I'm not buying anything. I'm not buying nothing. Don't touch nothing. I ain't buying nothing. Y'all just look. Keep your hands on the basket." But have you ever said that to yourself? I can't afford that. Yet you purchased it anyway. You purchased it anyway. Now, many of you still do it. I'm sure because of all the options to purchase online nowadays, and not to mention all the deferred payment options that are available. You know, there was a time where you can put stuff before there was Afterpay. You can put stuff like in layaway. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, and you pay a little bit on it because you knew you really didn't have the money at the time, but you wanted it really badly, but you really couldn't afford it at the time. What about when you know you couldn't afford something, yet God answered your prayers and made a way for you anyway? What about those times? Some of y'all know or have experienced the fact that in situations where your credit score said one thing, but God said something else. Am I right about it? Come on now. You know I'm right about it. And then you had a testimony, right? You had a testimony. Who am I talking to? So the title for today's message for those that are listening to the conference line is I can't afford that. I really just can't afford that. Now, the society we live in today, we find so much turmoil, confusion, there's so much chaos all around us. And it's kind of challenging for those that are not really believers to find the inner peace. But when you find that inner peace with God, it's a deep personal and transformative process or journey, if you will. For many, it involves moments of reflection, prayer, seeking guidance from those, with spiritual wisdom, if you will. Yet the matter of compensation arises in the context of spiritual support or counseling. Questions naturally emerge. Should such guidance be offered freely? Is it appropriate to expect compensation for aiding others on their spiritual path? Now, some of y'all already thinking, tithes and offerings, seeds, sowing seeds. Come on now. But what about the nature of spiritual guidance? Let's kind of unpack that. Spiritual guidance is both a calling and a service. Those who dedicate their time, like myself, energy and compassion to helping others connect with the divine often do so out of a profound sense of purpose. In other words, we're called to do this. We just don't wake up one day and say, "Oh, I want to be a prophet. I want to be a pastor. I want to be an evangelist. I want to be a missionary." It's a calling. Now, some spiritual leaders, counselors, or mentors may also invest years in their own growth. They have to study. We have to prepare what we are going to present. We have to have a personal encounter with God to really impact those that are seeking our help and those that God sent our way. And sometimes, many times, we need resources to sustain our work and our livelihood. I'm just trying to make it clear for some people out there, because it's funny when they say, I can't afford that, but yeah, you found a way, right? Now, to be honest, as it relates to your inner peace, most people find it challenging to just pray to God every day on a frequent basis. And always wait till something happens. But my brothers and sisters, prayer is one of our greatest tools for cultivating that inner peace that we all look for. We all need at some point in our lives. See, when we bring our worries, our fears, and our desires before God, we create an opportunity for Him to work in our lives. See, prayer is not just about asking for things. It is a conversation with our Creator. A moment to share our hearts and listen to His voice. Sometimes we just need to listen and stop asking so much and stop talking so much. Just listen to His response, how He responds to you. Sometimes He'll send someone with a message to give to you in response to your prayer request. Now, through prayer, we reflect on our struggles while simultaneously acknowledging God's limitless power. This connection allows us to find serenity amidst life's uncertainties, reminding us that we're never alone. We're never alone, y'all. I remember my sister, she used to sing a song years ago. It's like, it was titled Never Alone. She said, I don't have to worry because I'm never alone. He walks beside me every step of the way, leading and guiding my footsteps all the way. Why should I worry? Because I'm never alone. And most of us need to reflect on that. See, because the Bible proves and provides numerous insights that emphasizes the calming effect of prayer and what it has on our inner state of being. Some people just want to meditate just to meditate and calm down. That's fine. Do that. But you can also add some prayer with that. See, Philippians 4, verses 6-7 says it like this. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all your understanding and your misunderstanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. I'm just trying to make this practical word so that you can apply it to your life and make it make sense. Because a lot of folks don't want to read the Bible anymore because they don't see the connection. But when they get in trouble, when something happens, they say, I can't afford it. But then when, come knocking at the door, they're trying to find a way. How can I get this prayer through? Most of us need to accept what I call the gift of forgiveness. See, forgiveness is a powerful concept that can impact our inner peace. We hear it all the time. Don't hold grudges. Don't hate anyone because it hurts the one who holds it. Easily said and done, right? I know that's what you're saying. Yeah, easy said and done, but really holding on those grudges and resentment can really lead to what I would say inward strife and turmoil internally. And you can't have peace because you're still holding on to what they did 20 years ago, what they did last week, 6 months ago, or what they didn't do. But when you choose to forgive, you take significant steps toward healing and liberation. See, the Bible encourages also to forgive others just as God forgives us daily. And I know that's hard for some folks, but just try. You have to try. Put forth the effort. Because it's going to come a time when you're going to want somebody to forgive you. Because none of us are perfect, right? None of us are perfect. See, when you actually release all that hurt, release all that resentment, all those grievances, people like to file grievances on everything. Now, even in Little League sports and AAA, what they call AAU, I'm filing grievance because the bad call and we lost again, all that kind of stuff. They file grievances for everything now. And sometimes people hold on those grievances for years and don't understand why it affects their internal systems. You probably need to delete a lot of the pain of your past through just forgiveness. Like, let it go. Just let it go. Because once you do that, you're really creating a pathway for serenity to come in and reside in your heart. And forgiveness is really not merely an action. It transforms your mindset, really encouraging you to find empathy and compassion. You can find empathy and compassion with someone else. Guess what? One day, someone will find empathy and compassion with you. Because you know what? It really strengthens our relationship with God and others when we foster that peace within. Then you can see, well, why people always cater to such and such? Why people just like this person so much? Because they carry a peace within. They don't really hold grudges. Not to say they're perfect, not to say they haven't experienced some type of grievance in their life at some point. But oftentimes they have figured out and mastered the technique of, accepting that gift of forgiveness by releasing all that, that hurt and pain. Because they've come to the conclusion and realization that it actually does hurt the one who holds it. So why am I holding on to this? Let me give you an example. Why are you still holding on? Just say if you're, to a point where you can no longer wear what you wore in high school, as far as your wardrobe. Why do you still have all those clothes in your closet when you can't really wear them? 10, 15 years old now, why are you still holding on to those clothes? Why? Same difference. Why are you still holding on to 10, 15 years of pain, frustration, and anguish? What they did, I should have won, the pageant when I was in middle school. I should have won the pageant when I was in the 3rd grade. And you still mad at you 36. You still talking about that. Like, really? We need to really accept that gift of forgiveness, y'all. I think we need to do that. Then you can stop saying, I can't afford that. But I beg to differ. Isn't it funny? Let me go on the cut across the field here. Isn't it strange that nowadays, I've seen this with a lot of people that really can't afford things, expensive items, if you will. But they'll make every effort to buy it. They'll make every effort to purchase those things, albeit homes, cars, jewelry, clothing, trips, you name it. Because they really want those things. And somehow having those things make them feel a certain way or causes others to look upon them a certain way because of the amount of monetary value it holds. And today it just seems like, there are a lot of people, not everybody, there are a lot of people who, wear designer clothing just because of the cost factor. And if you put on some, whatever, Balenciagas or whatever you have, just designer, people look at you, they're like, oh, you must have some money. They got that paper, y'all. They must have something, and broke as a joke. You're going to spend, $600, $700, $1,000, $2,000 on a pocketbook or a purse, but don't have $2,000 in your wallet. What sense does that make? It's okay to have things, the bling bling. It's okay, but don't let those things have you separated from the love of God and carrying hate in your heart where you can't afford it. You can't even afford to say good morning, how you doing, being nice and kind to people because you got so much hate on the inside of your temple. Who am I talking to? Isn't it funny when somebody challenges another person, you can't afford that, instantly they get to a place of defense or trying to prove the person wrong that they can afford whatever the issue, whatever the situation is. I can prove to you I can afford that house. I can prove to you I can afford that vehicle. I can prove to you I'm deserving of this position when you really can't afford it because it's going to require you so many hours away from your family. Yet you're trying to prove something that you really can't afford. It amazes me how people really take on that challenge when someone says to you, you can't afford that. What you mean I can't afford it? For example, I remember, some of y'all may know this guy. He used to play in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal. He said when he got $100 million contract, he thought he had made it. I mean, maybe 50 million. It was somewhere up in the 50 million, 100 million. And he went into a car dealership, and the guy looked at him as if, he really didn't know who Shaq was. So he went into the Bentley dealership, and the guy said, how can I help you? Blah, 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 whatever the case may be. And then he walked away and let him look around. And I guess he went into the office and spoke to the finance guy, whoever, who make that decision. And he came back and asked, well, my manager and my finance guy want to know, can you afford it? And he got offended. Not only did he buy one, I think he bought 3 Bentleys to prove that he was worthy of that purchase. Now, later down the road, he realized he made a mistake because he could only drive one of those cars at a time. And then you would have to pay somebody to drive the other 2, and it was custom made because of his stature. And then he began to overspend because of that same concept, because people were challenging the fact, could he afford it? And he said that was one of the worst mistakes. He almost went broke with that kind of energy and that mindset, trying to prove to folk he can afford it. But my brothers and sisters, if we take that same energy, when it comes to our salvation, having inner peace, and really seeking the face of God, I think we'll be in a better position to handle the challenges of life and really exemplifying the fruit of the Spirit. Come on, somebody. Because finding strength in God is our journey toward inner peace, and it's often accompanied by challenges. And during these times, I know it's crucial to remember where our strength comes from, but God is our refuge, a very present help in a time of trouble. By turning to Him in times of distress, we acknowledge His power over our circumstances. You don't need to pick up the phone and dial your homeboy, your girlfriend, or somebody telling everybody your business, and they really can't do anything but listen. Sometimes we just need to get on our knees and talk to God, and drawing strength from Him that will allow us to remain what I would call steadfast and unmovable and calm, and being able to endure whatever it is that we're trying to overcome, no matter what life throws your way. And see, the Bible also reassures us of His presence and His guidance, fostering resilience within us. There are those who look like, you haven't been through anything. You just look like you're so peaceful and you got it together. How do you do that? I can tell you how most of them do that if they are believers. They're trusting in God. That's all. They're trusting in God. And sometimes you think, oh, I can't afford that. But it amazes me that folk want to purchase something. They're going on the car lot. Be out there fasting and praying, laying their hands on the vehicle, begging God to get, make the credit score increase by 200 points to prove to the naysayers that they are believers in God can do anything. But when it comes to standing in the gap for others who become SAVED, oh, I can't afford that. Oh, when it comes to you to start fasting and praying and turning down a plate of food, oh, I can't do that. When it comes to sowing seed into a ministry that's worthy and is being used by God to reach the nations, and it's authentic, oh, I can't do that because we're basing it on one situation where it went viral because of some type of scandal. Now we don't want to sow. Why? That is not everybody. We're quick sometimes to say, oh, I can't afford that. But yet, even in the face of saying I can't afford it, we find it challenging to prove others wrong. Think about it. In Isaiah 40:31, it said, but those who help and their hope is in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. 2 Corinthians 12:9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient to you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast even more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest upon me. I can't afford this. I can't afford that. Why? Because God is my supplier. He's the very present help in time of need. Come on, somebody. We must live in the present. Yeah, you must live in the present. Stop living in the past. See, one crucial aspect of achieving, I would say, this inner peace that all of us are looking for is to live in the present moment that we're in. It is easy to be consumed by past regrets. I should have never done such and such. I wish I had to do this over again. Some of the anxieties that we experience. It's easy to be consumed by those things. However, the Bible encourages us to focus on the here and the now, as well as when we transition. But we need to look at what's really going on right now, by appreciating what God has gifted us today. That's what I'm talking about. Do you appreciate what you have right now? Are you appreciative of what God has already provided for you? Think about it. If you got breath in your lungs and you can freely breathe, that's a gift. There are those who don't have that gift. It was a lady I talked to, I think it was Thursday last week. She said she was in so much pain, but she said, I thank God that I'm still in the land of the living to feel the pain, because there are those that can't feel what I feel. She said, I cannot afford not to praise him, even through my trials. We can cultivate a sense of gratitude that helps quiet our minds. So you won't be so anxious all the time, full of anxiety. See, what I'm saying is living presently allows us to fully embrace God's blessings. It calls you to turn your attention to the goodness of God and what he's doing for you right now, and get your mind off of what you don't have and all the worries and who's doing what, who didn't do this, and what I don't have. See, when you really focus on God in the present now and giving God thanks for what you have right now, if you actually incorporate that in your daily walk, it will nurture that inner peace that you're looking for. And it reminds you each day holds its treasures and opportunities to be grateful and not hateful and not resentful. Think about it. You have to practice this every day. Most people just want to get excited about God when He gives you a miracle, or you get some miracle money, or you get a promotion, or something. Basically, it's financial. Let's let me say that. It's financial. Or they go to church and they hear a good word and they're excited for that one moment, that day in church. Then they leave and they go right back to, saying what they can't afford. I can't afford that. I can't afford this. Matthew 6:34 says, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Now I know when I, presented the title, I can't afford that. Most people immediately thought about compensation, right? Come on, now yes you did. Yes you did. Yes you did. But let's talk about the role of compensation then. Let's talk about it. Yeah. See, compensation, whether monetary or otherwise, is not merely a transaction. No, it's not. It's an acknowledgement of value and effort. See, in many traditions, y'all, offerings or donations are seen as meaningful acts of gratitude. But it seems to be nowadays, as soon as you talk about sowing seeds in a religious organization like that, folk feel some type of way. And they say, I can't afford that. But they can afford some red bottoms that they can't afford. Oh, girl, I got to go to this all-white party, and I'm going to get a whole new wardrobe, and everything will be designer. But you just said you couldn't sell a $20 seed into that man ministry. $20. You paid more for that than a 20-piece wing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. So when you really look at the role of compensation and how it's viewed in many cultures throughout the world, they're seen as donations and acts of kindness and gratitude when you donate, you sow a seed or offering. But sometimes they enable spiritual guides to devote themselves fully to a well-being of their communities, depending on the gifts, depending on the donations, and how much individual or the organization is receiving, that they can really fully engage in their spiritual work towards helping others. In other words, full-time ministry, y'all. They can go into full-time ministry. And see, for some, charging a fee or accepting donations is necessary to continuing providing the support and to maintain the balance in their own lives. That's what I'm talking about. Some people need to go into full-time ministry because that's what they're called to do. And they're good at it. And they're impactful. You can see that people are being saved. People are being helped, set free, and delivered. And their lives are changing for the better. You can see that. Think about it. But you must respect the boundaries and their commitments as well, because everybody ain't out to get your money. Everybody ain't out in the scheme, and everybody ain't doing that. Everybody ain't doing that. Nope. See, even in matters of faith, by valuing, the contributions of those who help us, we actually foster a reciprocal relationship of respect. If you value what the teaching that this person is offering, the worship experience or biblical insight or spiritual guidance, now you have a respectful relationship and you see the commitment from both sides. Come on now. I'm just trying to help you understand Well, a lot of folks say, I can't afford that. But they can't afford that which they desire. And they really want something. Yeah, I think I'm going to see if God go make a way from me. Get this car I know I can't afford. Or try to get this house I know I can't afford, but I'm going to impress all my family members and my co-workers, my church family. See, my brothers and sisters, when we really consider the inner peace that we really need, it is essential to recognize that trusting in God's plan plays a vital role. Not man's plan, God's plan. We often find ourselves in situations where we feel overwhelmed, unsure of our next steps. Many of us do. However, when we lean on God's wisdom and timing, we embrace a sense of calmness and peace. Because see, we operate in chronos. God operates outside of that. That's why this song is always a hit when he said, he's an on-time God. Yes, he is. Most of y'all have heard that song before. Don't act like you ain't heard it before. Because he said, it may not come when you want him, but he'll be there. See in Mark 8:36, for what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? Look in social media. Now, my brothers and sisters, this particular verse highlights the idea that material wealth and worldly success are ultimately meaningless if one's soul is lost. Now, let's understand. God wants you to be, fruitful. He wants you to live and enjoy life. He said, beloved, above all things, I wish you will prosper even as your soul prospers. So he wants you to prosper. He wants prosperity in every aspect of your life, not just in the bank account. Don't get it twisted. See, but the verse really emphasizes the importance of prioritizing spiritual well-being over material gain. Say, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and he'll add all these things unto you, not the other way around. Now, in terms of SAVED, and I'm going to be the one teaching and talking about the salvation aspect because I don't hear a lot of people out here talking about salvation anymore. But we need to reflect on the priceless gift of salvation. Because most people say, I can't afford it. Because what if God put a price on it and we had to actually pay a price? Most of us, truth be told, we wouldn't be able to afford it. Even if we borrowed the money, even if we tried to put it on Afterpay, we still wouldn't be able to afford it. Only the rich and wealthy. Come on now. But salvation, in its most profound sense, resides beyond the reach of coin, and commerce. Its essence, cherished across centuries and sought within the deepest chambers of the human heart, cannot be purchased, negotiated, or earned through material means. So you can't buy your way in. Come on now. See, that notion that one might pay for salvation is as foreign to its nature as sunlight is to a shadowed vault. See, the meaning of salvation is to speak of deliverance, of liberation from the burdens that bind us, albeit guilt, sorrow, or estrangement from the sacred. For many, it is a spiritual release, a reconciliation with the divine, a restoration of wholeness. In countless traditions, y'all, salvation is not a commodity to be acquired, but a gift to be received freely and graciously. Thank God I can't afford it. You should say the same thing. Thank God I can't afford that. I didn't know I can afford salvation. I thought the price was set too high because of all my sins. See, that's what the enemy wants you to believe. You can't make it in because of all your sins. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. Now imagine, if you will, the absurdity of attempting to balance the scales, so to speak, of eternity with temporal currency. No sum of money, no accumulation of wealth can bridge the infinite chasm between imperfection and grace. Attempts to commodify salvation to render it into something bold or bought or sold, strip it of its mystery and majesty. In other words, you can't buy it. The language of payment is ill suited to the realm of the spirit, where love, mercy, and forgiveness hold sway. Say this with me. I can't afford that. I can't afford that. I can afford that now. I can afford that. Because as I said before, if we had to buy our way to heaven or salvation, most of us, truth be told, we'll be trying to look for the knockoff version. So let me get the generic, equivalent to what everybody else paying millions for. I can't afford it. Is there a Dollar Tree version? A Dollar General version? Come on. Most of us, if we are honest with ourselves, we just need a little more grace. We just need a little more grace, y'all. A little more grace. And stop condemning yourself. You need a little more grace. Which means that unmerited favor. The unmerited favor. Let me put it like this. Salvation is often described as a matter of grace. Unearned, unmerited. In other words, it's like loaning some money to a relative or your best friend. They ain't gonna pay you back. They ain't gonna pay you back. That's what grace is. See, for by grace you have been saved through faith. It is a gift of God, not a result of your good works, your handiworks, your giving to the needy, your whatever it is. It's not a result of that. Although those are good, those things are great in their respective places. We're not saying not to do that or stop doing that. No, but that unmerited favor is really what you need. Especially when you say, I can't afford that. God, give me grace. Think about it. So when we're talking about, I can't afford that, I'm talking about receiving, not buying or purchasing. Thus, to say, I can't pay for this as it relates to salvation is not an admission of poverty. No, it's not. But a recognition of reality. Hello, somebody. I'm here to invoke thought and to inspire you to live your best life. And so you can afford this and you can afford that. See, the gates to the sacred are not opened by gold or silver, but by humility, hope, and a willingness to receive. You got to be willing to receive. Salvation is the ultimate invitation, y'all. One that comes without a price tag, extended to all who would accept it. So today, will you accept it? Will you accept it? Will you accept it? You can't say I can't afford it. See, he already paid it forward. He already paid it forward. So it's amazing when someone gets so excited. They go through the drive-through. Here's an example, real life example. Someone goes through the drive-through at Starbucks and they get to the window after they place the order, and the person says, "Well, here you go." And they go to pay and say, "No, the car ahead of you already paid for your order." And they just sets their day and they're so happy and excited, and then they say, "Well, I got the favor of God on my life because somebody paid for your order." There are many people that have told me that's what happened in a situation, and it's not just Starbucks, but Starbucks was a situation in a place where they said someone a car or two ahead of them paid for their order. They didn't even know the person. Or they go to a restaurant and they say, "Oh, someone's already taking care of your tab." And you're like, "Who?" Some people say, "Oh, I got the favor of God. I got a parking space right up close to the door." There's nothing wrong with that. But what about the favor of grace in your life and salvation? What about that? You can afford that. My brothers and sisters, let us then approach the matter not as customers. Here's what I'm saying. Let us not approach this particular matter not as customers, but as grateful recipients. Are you a grateful recipient? Salvation is whatever form it takes. It's a treasure that transcends every economy. A gift and being freely given calls for our deepest gratitude and appreciation. My brothers and sisters, while the search for inner peace with God is at its heart a spiritual endeavor, the act of compensating those who guide us can be an expression of gratitude, fairness, and integrity, y'all. Every journey is unique. Your life is unique. Live it to the fullest, according to the plan of God for your life. He has a purpose for you. And everyone must determine what feels right within their own conscience, community, and tradition. What remains constant is the need for mutual respect, clear communication, and a shared commitment to growth and understanding of God. Yes, Lord. And who we are and our purpose in life. Even if you cannot afford that, be blessed.